Dozens of people took part in a rally at the McDougall Centre yesterday to protest Bill C-69. The federal bill stands to overhaul energy projects reviews across Canada. The group Canada Action is calling for a stop to that bill. The changes would create a new impact assessment agency and replace the National Energy Board with the Canadian Energy Regulator. It introduces timelines and steps that companies and governments will have to take in order for new energy projects to go ahead. Last month, Alberta's Energy and Environment ministers traveled to Ottawa calling for Senate amendments to the bill. This is where we bring in Danielle Smith from 770 CHQR, who joins us this morning. Danielle, no matter what side you sat on any sort of oil debate, this just sounds convoluted.
It is convoluted, and it wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to provide clarity to the process. The notion was that you can't force a company to spend billions of dollars going through a regulatory process and then at the end of it have the politicians swoop in and say, nah, we're not going to do that. So it was supposed to try to create some clarity, create some better timelines, and instead they made a complete muck of it because they've tried to once again insert political ideology into what should really be a technical approval process. There's provisions in there that they have to examine gender equity issues in determining the approval of pipelines. Anyone I've talked to about that has no idea what that means. Does that mean that you have to have 50% of the engineers be women? Otherwise, the project is not going to be approved? Or is it just simple virtue signaling language, which means nothing? And if that's the case, why is it there in the first place? The bigger problem, though, is the mandate that the pipeline projects would have to be able to account for upstream and downstream emissions. And that would have to factor into our overall decision on whether or not to go ahead with the project. Well, no one else does that. Nobody factors in the downstream decision of the Vancouver terminal exporting coal. Nobody factors in the downstream decision of LNG Canada or the construction of new auto plants or Bombardier jets. And so it's really being singled out here. This is something even the Premier, Rachel Notley, has said makes no sense to have in this bill. So I'm going to be having on Senator Grant Mitchell today. He is the Alberta senator who is the Liberal lead on this bill. He's been heavily lobbied by groups like Canada Action as well as Suits and Boots, saying you have to do some major amendments to this bill before sending it back to the House of Commons for final approval. Better we kill it altogether. So we're going to see what his view on that, see if he's been swayed by any of that advocacy.
Good conversation. That starts at 9:30 on 770 CHQR. Thank you, Danielle.
Yeah, my pleasure.